Hello everyone and welcome to the show. Today we're going to be talking about the 1977 murder of Sharon Ann Blankenbeckler. The case has gone unsolved for many years. Sharon was a native of Chilhowie, Virginia, went missing on March 10, 1977 from a Kmart parking lot in Marion, Virginia. Her brutal death involved rumors of a Satanic Cult and threats of body snatching, and at one time was suspected that Ted Bundy killed her. But her disappearance caused no panic in her hometown. Some felt she was a runaway, others felt she would come back, and others felt she had eloped with an older man. But pretty soon everyone forgot about Sharon, due in part to terrible flooding in the area. That all changed when Sharon was found strangled to death on Walker Mountain on April the 8th of that year. Sharon was a white 20-year-old female. She had long brown hair, blue eyes, weighed 108 pounds, and was 5 foot 4 inches tall. According to then Sheriff Billy J. Dolinger, the body was sent to Roanoke, where the cause of death was determined by an autopsy, and where the identification of the body was made. According to the autopsy, Miss Blankenbeckler had been strangled and her body left on the mountain for about a month. Sharon's family had reported her missing after she failed to return home after applying for a job at Kmart in the town of Marion. Her car was found abandoned on the shopping center parking lot that night with a flat tire, but police officers said there was no evidence of the tire being punctured. There were no reports of anyone seeing the girl leave the parking lot, nor of anyone suspicious being around her car, the police said. Her whereabouts remained a mystery until Harold Buchanan of Rich Valley, Virginia, was riding in the back of a pickup truck on Highway 16 that Thursday. Thought he spotted something alongside the road. He returned around 7:30 a.m. Friday and found the body. The body was on the north side of Walker's Mountain, about 3/10 of a mile from the top of the mountain. Sheriff Dolinger said the body was 12 to 15 feet from the shoulder of the roadway and was laying face down, head first down the mountain, indicating she had been shoved from a moving vehicle. When Miss Blankenbeckler was found, her hands had been tied behind her back and a rope around her neck, said the sheriff. Many claimed Sharon had died at the hands of Chilhowie's very own serial killer, Lynn Tuggle. While on parole for the 1971 strangulation of a 17-year-old girl, Tuggle raped and sodomized and shot a woman after he met her at a dance at the American Legion. But Lynn Tuggle couldn't have been the murderer. He had only been out of prison 4 months when he killed this woman in 1983. He was in prison in 1977 when Sharon was killed. According to a Smyth County News article on April the 14th, 1977, it said that an investigation into the murder of Sharon Blankenbeckler was continuing, Sheriff Billy J. Dolinger said. Sheriff Dolinger also said he had new developments which couldn't be reported at that time, but added the mystery was beginning to unravel. Dolinger said rumors that other bodies had been found in the county were just that, rumors. He said another woman who had been reported missing turned up recently unharmed. One school of thought was that Sharon had been killed by a prominent local businessman. Supposedly, he was having an affair with Sharon and had gotten her pregnant. That I call BS and just local talk. The other school of thought was much darker. People whispered of some kind of satanic cult. They said that the police had to guard Sharon's body because they were sure someone would come to get it at the funeral home. It was said the group held their meetings in an old metal warehouse deep in the county somewhere between Adwolf and Marion. People dressed in robes and danced on her grave. According to one story, a woman who lived close to the graveyard called the police because they were making too much noise. When the police arrived, they found small plastic wine cups. Also, everyone said her grave sank too quickly into the ground, like there was no coffin to hold the earth up. It was assumed her coffin had been stolen. It was even rumored the gravestones of some of her relatives were toppled over in another, different cemetery. The whole community was on edge. In 1977, we didn't have 24-hour news reporting crimes from every part of the country. Rarely did anyone hear of a murder, much less a murder surrounded by these strange circumstances. The town had been kept in suspense long enough, and they wanted an answer. According to a Smyth County News article on April the 28th, 1977, arrest rumors bring warning. Persistent rumors about the death of Sharon Blankenbeckler, found dead on Walker's Mountain after being missing for about a month, have prompted the following statement from Robert L. Asbury, Commonwealth's Attorney for Smyth County, Virginia. It has come to my attention that there are many rumors concerning the investigation of the death of Sharon Ann Blankenbeckler. The rumors concern persons who are not under investigation and are doing irreparable harm to them as individuals, to their families, and to their businesses. The Commonwealth Attorney went on to warn that any person who either makes a slanderous statement or repeats one previously made by another is subject to criminal punishment as well as civil damages. Any person who has any information concerning the death of Miss Blankenbeckler should contact the Smyth County Sheriff's Department, said Asbury. He added that any such information will be kept confidential. All the talk around town stopped. No one was ever arrested for her murder. A few months ago, something reminded me of Sharon Blankenbeckler. It could have been any number of stories about murdered young women on TV. I decided to look her up on the internet. I found nothing. It was like she had just vanished. This murdered young girl who rocked our community was nowhere to be found. I decided to see what I could dig up. I figured there would be oodles of mentions of her in the local paper, the Smyth County News, and I thought I could get information from people who grew up in Chilhowie. One detail everyone I spoke to agreed on was this: Sharon was a lovely, quiet girl. This is certainly true. The paper published a photo of her along with the first mention of her disappearance in the March 31st, 1977 edition of the Smyth County News. She had long dark hair parted down the middle, full round cheeks, and a long graceful neck. She wore a blouse with a classic 70s pattern with a white collar and white cuffs. Highway 16 to where Sharon was found leads to the town of Marion, which is 7 miles from Chilhowie, and passes by the west shore of Hungry Mother Lake and the entrance to Hungry Mother State Park. Shortly after you pass the entrance to the park, there is a campground. You really begin to climb Walker's Mountain after these last remnants of Hungry Mother Park. Highway 16 snakes steeply upward. Even if you are familiar with driving in the mountains, you still have to slow way down to take these sharp turns. Just as you come out of one turn, you go into another. There are guardrails now, but not in 1977. As you go up Highway 16, sometimes you are at the base of the trees and suddenly you are at the treetops, like you are tumbling as the mountain rises and falls around you. For those moments, you are traveling in the treetops. The mountain is so steep you can't see the bottom of the trees, and it feels like you are soaring through the air. Even though it is against the law, occasionally truck drivers not familiar with Walker's Mountain decide to drive over it because it is a shortcut to Tazewell, Virginia. They soon get caught on the curves and can go no further. The police are called and close the road so the truck can be backed down the mountain. There is not much traffic on the mountain, and even less in 1977. According to the paper, Sharon was found at about 3/10 of a mile from the top of the mountain. About 3/10 of a mile from the top of the mountain is a steep embankment. Just beyond the embankment, the woods are thick. Sharon's grave is at Grossy's Creek Cemetery, several miles outside of Chilhowie, Virginia. It is a quiet place. The tombstones spill down the hill to a country road. Across the road from the graveyard is a cornfield. Even the countryside in Chilhowie has many more houses than it did, but Grossy's Creek Cemetery is still a tranquil country place. Silver vases stand on either side of her grave, and they are stuffed with bunches of sky blue hydrangeas. There is a Bible engraved with the words, "Asleep in Jesus." This story of Sharon Blankenbeckler is something that normally would be the topic of conversation even 44 years later, but it's the silence that drives me crazy. No one talks about it, it just seems to be forgotten. In a January 2017 Smyth County News article, A Smyth County resident, Barry Blankenbeckler, said he had traveled across Highway 16 between Marion and Rich Valley on many occasions over the past 40 years, now 44 years. On each of those trips, he has felt sadness as he remembers his young cousin whose body was found in the wooded area on the north side of Walker Mountain in 1977. His sadness is always followed by two questions. Will his loved one's killer ever be brought to justice? Will the Blankenbeckler family ever have answers and closure? Blankenbeckler was almost 30 years old in 1977. His cousin Sharon Blankenbeckler was younger. She went into Kmart to apply for a job. When she came out, the tire was flat on her little red car. I think it was a Dodge Colt. I think she went with somebody she knew and trusted. That's just my theory, he said. When she was turned in as missing, the family was told that maybe she just run off with somebody. She was a good girl, had always been in church. They were good people. I've always felt whoever killed her was trying to cover up something, he said. Blankenbeckler said he found the unpunctured flat tire awfully suspicious. He had a new motorcycle and set out to look for his cousin. I ended up riding across Walker's Mountain on my motorcycle looking for her. Maybe I rode right past her. At first I thought she might be up behind the lake. When I got out to Hungry Mother, I rode on past the lake entrance and across Walker's Mountain, Blankenbeckler said. Just under a month from the day she went missing, the young woman's body was found on April the 8th, 1977. There were a lot of leads that could have been followed. A lot of mistakes are made in the justice system, and not just in this case. I believe there's more to this than anybody knows. She probably knew something on somebody. I would like to see the sheriff's department open this case up and get something done. The case is 40 years old. Something needs to be done. They need to let the public know what has been done, what they are going to do, and why they are not going forward, Blankenbeckler said. He does not believe his cousin was involved in drugs or anything else that would have landed her in trouble. He also believes that she deserves to have the killer brought to justice. I was working at the state hospital when this happened. Her brother also worked there. They called her brother and her daddy to come up there and identify her. Her brother said it was her. Her father said he wasn't sure. The body had been on the mountain for 30 days, Blankenbeckler said. The autopsy confirmed it was Sharon's body. I have always had it on my mind. When it's somebody in your blood family, you're not going to forget it. I'm not doing this for any popularity. I'm doing it for family. A lot of people in the community come to the funeral and show support to the family. We deserve answers. We deserve to see Sharon's killer brought to justice, Blankenbeckler said. Now, Smyth County Sheriff Chip Schuler said the case is still active and is assigned to Captain Bill Eller, the department's chief investigator. He said the department has possession of the evidence in the case and has kept the evidence secure following the required chain of command in handling it. Blankenbeckler wonders if or when the evidence might be tested by the Virginia Medical Examiner's Office, since forensic and DNA testing is available today that was unheard of in 1977. We have been in communication with the lab and they have given us guidance on what to do, Schuler said, pointing out the Marion Police Department, the Virginia State Police, and the Sheriff's Department all worked on the case in 1977. Schuler said those who were persons of interest or suspects in 1977 are still persons of interest or suspects. Until the case is solved, it will remain an active case. If anybody has any information, even if they don't think it's important, we would like to hear from them, Schuler said. According to Brad Jenkins, DNA program manager with the Virginia Department of Forensic Science, it is possible to test DNA that is 40 years old, but several factors can affect the outcome: how the evidence was collected, the chain of command followed, and how it was stored are among those factors. Jenkins said DNA evidence in cases 20 to 30 years old has been successfully tested. We have tested some old cases and gotten results. Some we can't get results from. We wouldn't know until we got in there and looked at what we had. DNA can last for decades, he said. Jenkins works out of the Richmond office, which oversees testing statewide, including the Roanoke office that services this area. He said the local sheriff's office could contact the lab in Roanoke and speak with one of the scientists regarding the possibility of testing evidence from the Blankenbeckler case. Please, if you know anything, contact the Smyth County Sheriff's Office at 276-783-7204.